One. Welcome, everybody, to the Shop Talk Quinny podcast. I'm pumped today because I get to interview a very vibrant entrepreneur, somebody that I've watched for a little while here, and she's just an incredible force to be reckoned with, and might I say, very very talented and skilled. With the areas of furniture and things, but I don't want to get too much into that because I want her to speak for herself. I want to welcome Heather, and Heather, what I'd like you to do is just take the next 1 to 2, 3 minutes just to let everybody know that's going to be listening to this, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Oh my goodness. So I'm probably blushing from that intro. Um, so, so I am Heather and I own Heather Marryann here I'm located in Foxborough, we can say Belleville. And I am a master DIY carpenter, self-taught, went to school for accounting and discovered I love numbers, but not in that way. So I started just doing DIY projects around the house. My husband, he is a mechanic. So he's not too handy when it comes to doing the home repairs. So I kind of had to navigate that on my own with his help. But a mechanic is often rough and tumble. So the more delicate things I had to do on my own. And I just, navigated the world of carpentry and started with an old saw that my father had given me that he used to build houses. It is so old, Josh, that when it's missing one of the prongs on the plug, and when you plug it in, it actually smokes when I'm cutting with it. So a little bit dangerous.
Wow.
But since then, I've moved on and bought a beautiful DeWalt saw from my brother. But yeah, just humble beginnings. And hopefully I can grow this to inspire other women to, go out into the garage and grab those power tools and start working.
Oh my goodness. And incredible. And I love the DIY because it really speaks to direct to consumer and that relationship, empowering other people to be able to work on things, and you're working on things for them. Tell me about the kind of the thought process around hey, I think I can do this, for a living and do this full time. Where did that inspiration or motivation come from for you?
Well, I'm not someone who likes to say no to opportunity. I would say I'm a 7 on the, I believe it's an Enneagram test that you do. So I'm like FOMO, fear of missing out. So I'm like, yes, 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 yes. So I just love to take on new tasks, and I saw chevrons, I think, on Pinterest. I was like, oh, I think I can make those. So I built chevrons for my wall, and I was like, I wonder if I can sell them. And I put them on Marketplace. And to me, they were just 2 pieces of wood that were put together and, took nothing to make them. And I'm like, well, maybe I can sell them. So I put them on Marketplace and I sold it for $20. And a friend of mine, she's like, did you just sell wood for $20? No, this is probably 3.5 years ago. I'm like, I think I just did.
Wow.
So then I just started building other little things, like my little mail organizers with the little key hooks on it. And, my biggest cheerleaders were my friends and the friends that I had on Facebook. And those were my, the main cheerleaders that I had that would purchase my products. And they're like, and they were getting inspired and sending me messages and saying how much they love to watch me build and all the DIYs I was doing. So I just kind of went from there, and I grew my audience. I started an Instagram account and I grew my audience. And I found that more and more people were reaching out to me saying, hey, can you come and build me a barn door? And that barn door was definitely intimidating. And I was like, I think I could do this. And it was a friend of mine who I worked with. And I went to her house and got my dad, and I said, well, let's build this barn door. I built it myself. And I went and delivered the barn door. My dad came along, he helped me install it and taught me a little bit more of what I needed to know with the tools and doing an installation. And we were able to kind of walk through the process in a professional way because it was a friend of mine. So we were able to take our time as well. And I videotaped myself doing this process because I wanted to go home and learn and see you know, where I could have sped it up or what I did wrong or how to better organize myself, right, in regards to doing an installation. Because the quicker you can get in and get out, especially now with COVID, then the happier the client is. So yeah, I don't know enough to say no, and I will pretty much tackle anything.
I love it. I love it. And like, you know, like if maybe not too many people know this about you that are fans and looking for afar. So as a fan myself, out of curiosity, I'm just going to ask. And like, you know, before you were doing this, you know, like what were you kind of up to before you kind of got into this business, and what did that look like before?
Yeah, so I was actually in healthcare. I was a PSW for many years at the Hastings Manor. And then I left there and I went to school for accounting. And I did accounting. I hated it, absolutely despised it. And I just knew I needed to do something. And I've always had a passion from grade 7. I did shop class and I loved working with wood, but I felt like it was something that was not something I could do because I'm a woman, right? So that's why I went back to school for accounting, because I'm like, that's a female dominated field. Like maybe not so much anymore, but it was doing that like secretary kind of work, right? And I'm like, there's no way I can go into construction or do carpentry or, you know, and I had to tackle those mind blocks that I had, do it through self-talk and just grabbing the tools and getting started, right? So, but the passion's always been there since I was in grade 7, and I was able to do my first shop class.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. I think I started shop class like at like, you know, grade 10, maybe 11. So you certainly got a head start on me on that one. That's a great age to get introduced to that stuff.
Well, I'm seeing my dad's a contractor. So his house was always in shambles. So I always saw the beginning of what something, or I saw something in shambles be taken apart, right? And then slowly come together, because he also worked full time too as a contractor. So in our house, it was always projects that needed to be done. So I saw what it looked like to see the studs, then to see the drywall, and to see the installation, and to see the paint and or the mudding, and watch my dad hang cabinets and or build something or put something together that he needed in a second, right? Like he's watching him as I grew up. I was able to see these things come together. So it was just, it's what I can't explain it, but it's like when I'm working in my shop and I'm working with wood and I'm building something, because everything I build, I draw it on a piece of paper and then I go from what's in my mind and I put it together, right? And I don't know, it's not necessarily my mind driving me. It's like my hands just take over and know what to do.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I can relate a little bit to what you're talking about. Like I play drums. So like I've played for like, I don't know, 17, 18 years now. And like everything is by ear. Like I took drum lessons once and kind of learned how to play like based on notes, but like I'm a feeler. Like, you know, you kind of feel it and then you get a rhythm for it and then you just kind of go with it. So
Yeah.
that sounds very similar to, you know,
And and it's almost like I know there's people that when they listen to music and they hear the music, they can almost like see it in color, right? Yeah. And I know like with wood, like I don't know. I just know how to do it for some reason.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Heather, I'm always looking for opportunities to provide value to our listeners. And one of the reasons I'm just super excited that you're on here is because you have so much value to give, and you've been giving out so much with the inspiration that you've given to so many people, and leading by example, you know, what you're doing and saying, hey, you know, you can do it too. I want to talk to, you know, just like your experience thus far in business. You know, if you can speak to maybe, you know, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've come across, and, you know, how did you overcome them? Are they still challenges that you're working through? I really want to kind of uncover, and maybe there's something that somebody that's going to listen to this can relate to or something, but, you know, your thoughts on kind of some of the biggest challenges you've had to face so far as an entrepreneur.
Well, I would say my biggest challenge getting started was not knowing where to start, right?
Mm.
Not knowing where to start and not knowing what my first step was to get me in front of who I needed to get in front of. And with that, I would tell people to just get started. Don't try to be perfect from the beginning because you're going to be able to critique yourself as you go. Don't waste too much time on your logo, right? You don't need to start with this professional logo. I think it's important even just to contact your company and, call OSM up and talk to them and be like, what do I need to start with? Can you get me set up with a website? Maybe start blogging, have an outlet that's your own. So you're not building something such as social media that can be taken away from you. So you at least start with um, your own foundation that you can build on, right? I think that's key in business. And to continue with that and chase that curiosity that you have, but don't expect to be perfect right from the get-go and just get started.
I love that. Wow, it's so true. Like you think about when you said logo design, that really resonated for me. Like we've worked with like so many different clients where it's like, it's like it's not quite right yet, and it's like like the 15th or 36th like revision, and it's like okay, and it's like, but it's like if you just start, like it doesn't have to be and one time I tell people, like I'm like, that could evolve, like your design, your brand identity, like that evolves as you evolve. So the more you get to know yourself in business, the more that can be showcased in what you put out to the world.
Absolutely. And and I always say, if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody, right?
Mm.
That's actually from Marie Forleo.
Say it
That's where
again.
we
Say
got
it again. I don't think they heard you. I like that one.
And that's a key thing too, right? And your logo isn't what's going to sell you. It's you as a
Mm.
person, the human that you put into your business. And you know what? You're not going to attract every single client that you reach, but you're going to attract the right ones just by being you and bringing the magic that you bring. And it's important to also, focus just to focus on getting started and not being perfect, and don't surround yourself with everybody else's creativity that you feel like you're drowning and you can't compare, because
Mm.
they also started from somewhere too, right? And that's the key. Like anybody who's never yet cut with a saw, don't go to my Instagram, Heather Marryann, and say, oh my goodness, she's already here, there's no way I can start, because I didn't start here, right? I started with 0 followers. I started with 0 clientele. And I also started with 0 skill. So I had to build that as I grew. And you're going to have problems at the beginning, and you're going to have problems in the middle, and you're just going to continue as you grow to have problems. They just get bigger, right? Because you
Mm.
have a bigger following. But you can't hold yourself back because you put those barriers up in front of you. This isn't perfect. I can't start here. I don't know where to go. It's important to just get started.
Wow. You know what? And where I'm going with this, it's going to be, I think, a good reminder, not only for myself, but for people that are going to be listening to this. Talk to me a little bit about, how did you, for those that are listening, like we got some startups that I know follow us, and some people that are more seasoned in business, but, speaking specifically to people that are starting up or thinking about starting a business, but maybe they haven't even done that yet. But like, how did you acquire your first client? And then my follow-up question to that is, how are you getting clients now?
So my first client was that I would say, okay, let me think here. Who was my first client that I did a big build for? So it would be the barn door, but my very first big one that got me on the scene was my first barn door cabinet that I did for a client. I don't know if I can say her name, but she's the one who she said to me, she's like, and so I was beginning, and I said to her, I was very honest. I'm like, this is my first time building this. I've not yet built it. So I gave it to her at a very discounted rate, right? Because that way I wasn't so financially invested that if I screwed up and I have to give her all her money back, even though I've taken on those expenses, because to me, my mindset was I'm being paid to learn. When I first started, I was being paid to learn. So I didn't charge the full price for the pieces that I was building when I first started.
Right. And Heather, how did, just for our listeners and people, because I know you know this, but I want them to get it. How did you connect with that first client? What was the contact? How did that come about?
Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. And that's it. That's a little bit scary too, right? Because you go on Marketplace and you'll see a lot of furniture that's built being sold for quite low. And the profit margins right now are not very big when you're selling at that low price. But when you're on Marketplace, you're not necessarily reaching the target audience that you want to get to, right? Because people go to Marketplace for a sale. But your goal at Marketplace is to have some reach and to be able to get you just need that one client who's going to believe in you, that you can build that one big thing for, and they'll share it with their friends, they'll share it with their audience, which is such an honor and a privilege. And they will also allow you to be in front of be in front of their audience who have all that trust in them, which allows you to start building on that foundation. So the moment that you grasp that one client who gives you that much oomph, run with it, right? That's when you run, and you'll know because you'll start getting calls, you'll start getting messages, you'll start getting shares. When you share the photo, you'll have people commenting, oh my God, that's so beautiful, or how did you do this, right? And you'll know that that's the piece.
Wow. And then fast forward now, like how are our people, how are you landing clients now? Is it all referral based? Like, walk me through kind of what your world looks like in the present as far as acquiring clients.
So I've been so blessed. My clientele that I have right now, they are so loyal. And I have returning clients constantly coming back to me saying, can you build this? Can you do this? And oftentimes when I go to a client's house, they're like, okay, so we want you to give us an estimate on this, but we also have 10 other projects for you to do. So I'm finding that my clients are finding me through Instagram or referrals, mostly referrals, and they're keeping me. To build other things too. So I'm not necessarily right now out searching for new clients. I will often refer. I have my son's girlfriend. She's 16 years old and she builds stuff as well. So the little projects that I get, I'm able to refer to her so she can build the little ones. But yeah, there's a lot of my clients right now are repeat clients, but the new ones are reaching me through Instagram mostly.
That's awesome. And for your son's girlfriend, like, it's almost like now that's kind of a bit of a referral business, and she's kind of getting her entrepreneurial feet wet, if you will, being able to build some smaller things. That's awesome.
Yeah. And she's built some stuff for my current clients as well too, which is great.
Wow. That's so neat, Heather. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm super, super curious around this. And we talked about, how you're acquiring clients right now, and most of it is referral based. And then, I start to think about, so, as an entrepreneur, somebody that's empowering other people to go out and do the same thing, can you speak to an example? Because your content is very motivational, and it inspires people. And I've seen you share on multiple occasions, like you could do it too. Could you, what's the response been to your content from that perspective? Have you gotten any feedback on that? And has it led to anything for anybody else who's looking to do something?
Absolutely. So there's a few people who I've kind of taken under my wing, and they've been able to explore my side of the business and grow with it. And they've done well. So sometimes I get feedback from them and it's positive, and sometimes people will just run with what I give them, and and just kind of be gone with it, and they're so busy now building what they have that I don't really hear from them much. But that's the nature of the beast, right? So yeah, I do it. So when I am doing that and trying to inspire people and build them up to go out and do what it is that I want to see, like do what it is that they're curious about and passionate about, I don't necessarily do it to I don't do it for the praise, right? I do it because I needed me when I was in that starting phase. And that's why I do it. And that's where I come from. So I don't always hear back from people that might be inspired by me, but it just, yeah, I don't do it for that. So I don't necessarily reach out for that either. If that makes sense.
I appreciate that answer, and that's where I was going with it was, did you kind of in your time before kind of starting this, did you have anybody that was kind of putting stuff out there, positivity and saying like, hey, like, you can do this, you can succeed? Because I've noticed and observed sometimes where there's people that are putting out a lot of positivity, and kind of a subconscious reason is because they didn't necessarily get that same message of hope when they were coming up and trying to do their thing. So they want to pay it forward. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah. My biggest mentor is Marie Forleo. Do you know who Marie Forleo is?
I don't.
Oh my goodness. So, I love her. So when I was, before I even started a business, I would watch her on YouTube. And she has this saying, everything is figure outable. And I continued to watch her. And then I saw that she had a program, and it was called B School, as in business school. And I took her program, which is still available. And she's so uplifting. And she's like, I believe that everybody has a gift to give to the world, and you should embrace that gift and give it to the world, right? It's your responsibility, Josh, to be the human that you are and to bring to us these podcasts. This is your ability to communicate with us and to put us front and center in front of your audience. Like, that gift that you have, you got to keep giving it to the world. And that's the kind of message that she gives, right? And me being able to, I can't believe you haven't heard of her.
Well, I have now. I'm gonna check her out now. So
yeah, she's incredible. But yeah, I would say Marie Forleo. Now, with her having the following that she has, I was able to take her course, but I wasn't able to like have that one-on-one connection with her, right? So that's where I wanted to take it, was to be able to reach out to someone like Mackenzie, my son's girlfriend, and do that one-on-one. Even after I'm done this call with you, actually, we're going to go over a set of drawers that she's building and figure out what we need to do to make them fit perfectly. And then I have another young lady, Jen, who has access to me whenever she needs to, and she owns a little business building furniture as well too. So I took the mentorship that I received from Marie, and I'm able to kind of deliver it in a different way on a more personal level to our community. So
wow, that's incredible. Incredible, Heather. I'm curious around your thoughts, as you continue to take your business forward and entrepreneurially, like, what is kind of your, if you can share a little bit with us. I'm certainly curious selfishly, just because I love this topic of entrepreneurship. But any thoughts that you have around, where you're wanting to take the business in the next 5-10 years? What does things look like for Heather down the road, if you will?
Yeah, so I definitely want to go more digital. My goal is I'm working right now on providing a digital course, right? So for DIYers, and to talk about the topics that I find in my field of other builders is the pricing. How do you price this piece that you're building? And with my background in accounting, I'm able to provide that to you, right? So these are like nice. With Mackenzie and Jen, they're the two questions that they'll come at me with. Okay, I'm going to build this. It's this size, this big. How much do I price it for? And we'll go through and we'll talk it out so that they're able to price it all on their own the next time, right? So I definitely want to provide like a digital platform where you can come and grow and learn, but also to provide inspiration too, not just for the woodworkers, but for anybody wanting to start up in this world of being an entrepreneur, right? It's really scary. But I think that it's key to not go into it with like, you can go into it with that puddle mindset where it's scarce and, there's too much out there. It's so saturated. There's nothing out there for me. I can't communicate with the competitors because, well, what if they take business from me? And that's the wrong way to look at it. I want to approach this in a digital world with an ocean mindset, right? Where it's vast and beautiful, and you can take a cup of water from the ocean. There's still so much left, and there's enough for everybody, regardless if you're living in the same town, of 50,000 people. If you want to build furniture, you can build furniture. You can sell your furniture, and you're not gonna step on anyone's toes. So reach out to the competitors, and they're not even competition, but reach out to other people in your field to build that community, right? And I think in the digital platform, it's a little bit easier to do that because you don't feel like you're stepping on people's toes.
I love that you said that. I remember having a conversation with somebody locally here, and she asked me like, like who's your competition? And my answer was like super awkward because it was like I just don't view them that way. I
No.
like and I actually refer business to them if I don't think it's a good fit at OSM and what we're providing as a service. So I actually have a list of three people, I want to say partners. I call them that. Maybe even if I haven't had a conversation with them, but I've seen that they do good work, and I'm comfortable referring business to them. I say, hey, here, top three people in my industry doing a similar thing. I would suggest that you reach out to them. But you said something else that kind of stuck out to me, and it's kind of like the nitty gritty of business. But I think I really want to provide some value here. You talked about pricing, and if I can get some feedback from you, or maybe you can share a little bit, for the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, somebody they're starting out, they're looking to kind of build their price list of services, and but then the question, like, what do I price it at? How do I go about where do I even start to know how to price my product or service? Like, what are some tips and tricks that you've learned on your path that you can share to people that are listening today?
Yeah, so the number one thing, which has nothing to do with pricing, is finding your ideal customer avatar, right? And when you know who your audience is and who you're talking to, you can set your prices accordingly, because it's not always necessarily about the cost that's put into that product, right? You're also charging for because you're behind, let's say myself making a table. So if I spend $300 in material to make that table, you have to also consider the electricity. You have to consider the admin fees that go into it. You have to consider the replacement of the tools if they break. You have to consider the rent that you pay for the shop. That all of these things that go into it, and all the finishes and the time to sand, and it's not just the material, right? So I think that when it comes to pricing, it's knowing who you're talking to. So know your ideal customer avatar, and then make sure that you have all those variables in your price and the fixed expenses in your price as well. So you're not drowning yourself and not making so that you're not stuck not making any profit, right? And price according to your audience, because that's key. And I know myself, like I know exactly who I'm speaking to when I'm selling. So even if someone messages me and they want something from me, and I know immediately it's not going to be a fit for me, I won't even, I do not even give them an estimate, because it's not a fit for me, and I will refer them to somebody, to one of my partners, like you said, right? And I know that there's some people who, like, I knew a lot of males in this industry who would probably definitely better be able to serve that one client, because my clients are moms, the moms with the mud room that's just a disaster, and she's going on IKEA, and she's looking, and she just can't find anything that's going to be perfect fit for that mud room, and I can build it to fit her, and she might be a little bit fussy, but that's okay, because I'm fussy too. If you want to change, right? If you want to change the handles on your drawers 3 times, hey, I got you. Because I'm thinking those other ones that we picked the third time will definitely fit. We'll take these ones back and we'll get the other ones. Not a big deal, right? So, I mean, you have to know who you're talking to when you're pricing out your pieces or your services.
That's fantastic, Heather. I really, really appreciate the feedback. I think that's going to bring some real value to people that are listening here today. And just a curious question again around what you're doing right now, and like right now in your day to day, like what is something that is very exciting for you? Like when you get up in the morning, what's something that's happening right now that you're up to that it's like, man, like I'm really, really enjoying this? What can you speak to that at all?
Anytime I'm in my shop. Anytime I'm in my shop and I'm using my saws, I am extremely excited. That's the best part of my day, any day. And I am very, very selfish with that time. I like to, when I'm in my shop, that's me. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be talking to anybody. I just want to be full of sawdust and just building, right? It's like that meditative moment where I just get to indulge in what I love to do all day with no distractions. That's where I get excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then I'll speak to a little bit of a question around social, because I know you're quite active on there. What are some insights or things that you're noticing on, the social platforms that you're on? Anything that kind of sticks out to you or that you're experiencing there that's interesting or insightful that you'd love to share?
Yeah, so I think that definitely when I first started, my idea of social was having a huge audience, right? And I look back at that, I'm like, those are vanity metrics. Like I don't want to go into that with like a vanity mindset, right? And a smaller audience is an engaged audience. So I've just recently changed my mindset around that. And I'm not focusing so much on building a bigger audience, but engaging with my engaged audience. So
Heather, I got to tell you this. I got to tell you this real quickly. One of our team members sent me an article this morning, and it was an article around. Actually, no, it wasn't one of our team members. It was Avril, a wedding officiant. But she sent me this article around influencer, like influencer marketing and people that use influencers only because they have a huge following. And they showed an example of one millennial that had 1.2 million followers or something like that. And she couldn't sell 36 t-shirts even with that following. So the production company that took her on as an influencer dropped her because it was like a certain time limit or whatever, and she wasn't able to get to sell 36 t-shirts with a 1.2 million person following. So speak to what you're learning about that, because this is so relevant to people overvalue that metric, and it's something I've really been trying to educate people on. But finish your thought around how you're experiencing that now and what's changed for you in that area.
Yeah, so I just putting more emphasis on building my email list, right? Again, reaching out to OSM, get your email going, get your website going, start your email list. If you're going to start with anything, start your email list, because that cannot be taken away, right? So your Instagram, if you do something and you get shut down, you're done. Those followers are gone. You have to rebuild that. And if you're not, you might be gaining clients from Instagram or Facebook, but if you're so focused and you're only looking at measuring yourself in a vanity kind of metric system, right? Then you're just doing it to gain followers. If you're not building your profit, you're not necessarily building your brands. You're focusing on building an audience, and those audience may not be as engaged with you as the ones who are going to come to you organically. And I think that another thing too that I see that I don't like is piggybacking off of somebody just to get it in touch with their audience so that you can gain them as followers, right? And I don't like that, because I'm really big on the idea that if you like me being put in front of your audience today, Josh, I am so grateful because you're putting me in front of people that trust you, right? And I have to show I have to show gratitude towards that because you've taken the time to build trust with your audience and to put information and to put products in front of them that you know that you believe in and people that you believe in, that they're going to hopefully use the trust that you built in you and instill it in me as well. And the fact that you're able and willing to share other people with your audience, like we as entrepreneurs have to be grateful for that because we know what goes into that, to building that organic audience, right? So you have to be careful too as an entrepreneur that you're not piggybacking on somebody just for the sole purpose of getting their audience in front of you. Do it with purpose. Do everything with purpose and be intentional about your actions and be willing to provide good quality materials or services to the audience that you gain from other people as well.
Yeah, I love everything that you said there, Heather. Like it certainly is a truth for me. Like, when we think about influencer marketing or trying to get in front of anybody else's audience, which is a great way, by the way, to to continue building your reach and building awareness around your brand and your product. But to your point, doing it in a thoughtful way, like what value can you bring to the table that's like, like this could be a great synergy where there's value exchanged and you're bringing something to the table as opposed to coming empty-handed and saying, hey, can I get in front of your audience and so I can get some more followers? Like I love everything that you said around that because too many people just overvalue the number of followers they have and they don't focus enough time on how much engagement they're doing. And it's almost like they forget about the social part of social. And it's like, how many people did you engage with today? Are your DMs popping? Are you having conversations? Are you in your community? Those things are so important. So I love how you spoke to that and we're able to clarify, where you're coming from on that. I totally agree with you. Heather, I want to be respectful of your time. I want people to know where they can find you, where they can get to know you. We're going to share some links to your stuff, but let them hear it right from you. Where can they get a hold of you?
So heathermarryann.com, and I spell it with 2 R's and 2 N's because everybody remembers a misspelled name. And then it's Heather Marryann builds on Instagram and Heather Marryann on Facebook.
That's fantastic. It's so funny because I remember when you first contacted us, and I think it was like you had like the spelling the way you just said. And I remember adding you to to our billing system, and it was like, oh, I think I spelled this wrong, and I changed it. But I was right. But I was right the first time.
And you guys have been great. Like I know I had to contact your technical team because I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I did because I went on to my WordPress site and I was fooling around with it before I went live. I locked something and I don't know what I did. Your team was like he's like, give me your password, let me know. So I gave him all my information. I think it was Scott.
Yeah.
And he went on. He was like, I'm just like, the heavenly gates just opened. The light just came down. He grew angel wings. I was like, thank you. Yeah, you guys are great. You guys are great.
I appreciate it. Very, very kind of you. Heather, I'm so thankful for your time. It's long overdue that we could connect like this. Would love to have you back on the show in the future. You're up to so many different things and just really appreciate the value that you had to share today. I wish you so much success going forward and keep in touch with us. We want to see how you're doing, what you're up to, and just appreciate everything that you're putting out there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, and congratulations on your baby.
Thank you so much. Awesome. You take care. Thanks again.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.